Okay guys, so the Yamaha Warrior 350. Now this is an iconic four-wheeler in Yamaha's lineup. It first came out in 1987, which was the same year the Yamaha Banshee came out. And it's really just, in the 350 lineup, it gave people a more torquey four-stroke engine that's a little bit more entry-level friendly. It also has a 6-speed transmission. It was really more of a trail four-wheeler, but it's still categorized as a sport ATV. Now they ran this until 2004, so they ran it for just under 20 years. When they came out, it was the first sport ATV to have an electric start. It also came with a reverse, and so it really just was a machine that was very usable for pretty much any level of rider. Now, with that being said, and it also having a bulletproof 350 air-cooled engine, this thing is now the world's all-time best-selling sport ATV ever. Now, with that being said, there's a wide variety of conditions you can find Yamaha Warriors in. There's people that like to sport these things out and mod them out. There's also people that keep them stock and keep them in the trail form and keep them running good. There's also the people that totally neglect these. With it being kind of that bulletproof engine, a lot of people will just run these things into the ground until maybe the carburetor jams up or the engine stops completely. Now, regardless of what state you've got yours in, I'm going to go over some parts and accessories that you can add to your machine to either revive and freshen up your old Warrior that's maybe been sitting around and doesn't run anymore, or if you've got one that's still running great, I'll give you some parts and accessories that'll keep it running in tip-top shape. So let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is performance with the engine. Now, whether yours is not running as well as you'd like it to, or maybe it's running really well and you're looking to free up the engine and get a little bit more power out of it, this is going to be for you. So this machine is actually a 1996 Warrior, and it's in really good shape cosmetically, but the owner hasn't been keeping up with the maintenance. In the 6 or so years that he had it, he didn't change the oil. He also didn't know there was an air filter and that it needed to be cleaned or swapped out. So that was the very first thing we tackled. We got the oil swapped out, and then we also swapped out the air filter. So the stock air filter was ripped, it was dirty, and it was definitely toasted. So we actually replaced it with the Tusk air filter, and that helps this thing breathe a lot better. Another thing we did is open up the airbox a little bit. A lot of people like to modify the airbox lid to get a little bit more airflow in that. And so that's another thing we did to kind of help out with the jetting as well as letting this thing breathe. The next thing we went after is the carburetor. So for most people in their Warrior, if it's not running or maybe it's sputtering or it doesn't idle well, the carburetor is the culprit. So we actually went with the Tusk Carburetor Rebuild Kit, and this comes with everything you need to get your carburetor running right again. It's got the stock jets as well as new needles, new clips, valves, as well as O-rings for your carburetor. It really just comes with everything you need to solve any of those issues that you might be having with idling, sputtering, or just the machine not running as well as you'd like it to. Now with the airbox and the carburetor working properly, we've got more air coming through this. We wanted to give it a place to go. And so FMF actually hooked us up with a PowerCore 4 silencer. And this is an awesome addition to the Warrior. It gives it a nice good sound. It's also a bit lighter than the stock exhaust. And then it also comes spark arrested so that we can still ride legally in forest areas, which is really important for us here in Utah. Now the last thing we had for performance is the Tusk Competition Clutch Kit. So like I said before, these are really great for entry-level riders and people to learn how to ride an ATV and use a clutch. And with that, the clutch takes quite a bit of abuse. Now, even just with regular weekend riding, the clutch is a high wear item, and so it's really just good to get a fresh clutch pack in there and keep your clutch running the way it should. Now with the clutch pack, as well as that air filter, we have how-to videos to help you out, so if you don't know how to do that, you can check those out and do it yourself and save some money. The next thing I want to talk about is protecting your Warrior. Now, we ride a lot of desert, rocky landscapes out here in Utah, and so having undercarriage protection is pretty much a must-have. So Ricochet actually hooked us up with A-arm guards, a full skid plate, as well as a swing arm guard. And these are awesome aluminum components that really just add to the peace of mind while you're going through those rough terrains, that you're not going to damage the bottom of your A-arms or maybe even your frame, and especially the swing arm. Swing arm guard is probably my favorite because the swing arm sits so low, and it also protects your brake rotors as well as your sprockets, which if you ding those on a rock, you're going to have costly repairs in the future. Now, along with those Ricochet components, we did add the Tusk front bumper, and this just gives a nice fresh look to the Warrior, and it's just a really great option to protect the front of your machine. Now let's talk about your drive components. So with drive components, these are high wear items that you really want to be keeping an eye on anyways, but they do wear out and they can be commonly overlooked. So we ended up putting Tusk brake pads all the way across the front and rear. The brake pads were really worn out and needed to be swapped out. We also went with the primary drive chain and sprocket kit. So this comes with steel sprockets, and the steel sprockets are awesome. They're very durable and they last a really long time. And then the gold X-ring chain that we added is also a very long lasting chain. And if you keep up on the maintenance and lubing it, it'll last you a long time and do really well for you. Now, another thing with the chain and sprocket is the chain rollers. So those can get overlooked pretty easily. These ones were almost disintegrated completely. And so we went with the all balls chain rollers, and that just keeps the whole drive system running well. And it also adds to the longevity of the chain. The next thing we went after is the tires and wheels. So the tires were worn out, needed to be replaced. And this actually had the stock gold wheels on it, which, as tempting as it was to leave those on because they looked awesome, they were a bit dinged up and needed to be replaced. So ITP ended up hooking us up with their Pro Series A6 wheels, which give the Warrior a nice fresh look. They're also a really great combination of strength and staying lightweight. For the tire, we chose to go with the ITP Mudlight AT tire. And we really like this tire for pretty much every terrain. Now, it is designed to be a lightweight tire designed for mud, but it also works really well in snow as well as sand. And the center lug design actually makes it really smooth, but then it gives you the bite you need when you get into that looser terrain. So we're really liking this setup. Now, the last couple things we did to freshen up our Warrior was add a couple of comfort and controls, as well as a few bling items. So for comfort and control, we added the Tusk T10 aluminum handlebar. This is a sport ATV bend. And if your stock steel bars have ever seen the ground for any reason, it's likely that they're bent. And so the aluminum bars are much more durable. They just give a really good feel, and we like the bend a lot more. We also added some fresh levers and cables to really freshen up the feel of the clutch. And then we also added some fresh ATV grips, which really just add to that comfort. Now, as far as bling items, we did add the Tusk reservoir cap and gas cap, and those are just really nice items, just kind of personalize it for you. Now, another thing we did to freshen up our Warrior is actually with the plastics. So these are the stock OEM plastics, and they are a little bit sun faded and a little bit worn out. So we used what we like to call new bike in a can, and it's actually the Maxima SC1 aerosol spray. So what you do is you just spray that on your plastics. It gives them a nice glossy look. It also freshens them up, gives them a nice restored look, and it also protects it from UV rays, as well as it keeps from mud from sticking to your plastics, and so it makes it a little bit easier to clean. So make sure and definitely check that out on our website. That stuff is awesome if you've never tried it. Okay guys, so that completes our overview of the Yamaha Warrior 350. Now, again, these are just awesome machines. They last forever, and they're really good for pretty much any skill level. So if you've never ridden one, make sure and definitely check one out. Maybe go pick one up, and you can do the same things we've done. So if you have any questions about anything we've done today, make sure and comment those below. Also, if you want to check out the parts and accessories to freshen up your Yamaha Warrior, make sure and hit the link at the end of this video. Also, if you like seeing videos like these, make sure and subscribe. I'm Josh, thanks for watching.